Myself and my colleagues, we are representing Team Sri Lanka, and we will be presenting on the application of the Sema Undong model, thank you, to empower women in our country, specifically focusing on projects for income generation on utilizing livestock. I would like to acknowledge the contribution and support that our supervisor, Professor Ho Chan Tok, has given to us in this project. And to kickstart, this is going to be our basic contents: country profile, introduction, the Sema Undong approach, overview of project, project framework, SWOT analysis, project development stages and strategies, action plan, and conclusion. I just would like to touch on a quick, brief country profile. I'm sure every one of you has heard of Sri Lanka. We're very popular for our tea, gemstones, and our cricket. And we're also notably known for our warm personality. I think our friends can hopefully attest to that one. And just a quick overview, we have a total population of about 20.9 million. We have a very high literacy rate in the South Asian region, high as 93.3%. It's also noted that out of our total population, the majority are females. And we also are noted to have a very high Human Development Index, ranking 73rd in the world. And a not too bad poverty status, because we only have, I say only, but it's still a large percent, 6.7% of our population that lives below the poverty line. Our main economic sectors are service sector, industrial sector, agriculture sector, and tourism. Our current topic will be dealing with empowerment of women, so I'd like to touch on the socioeconomic status of women. Of the 8.5 million people active in our country, it's only 33.4% of women. And this is really sad because we have free education in our country, both accessible to the boys and girls. However, when it comes to the employment field, it's sadly noted that women are always put in subordinate roles. And our project aims to actually start changing that. And we've had so much of potential. Sri Lanka holds the record for the world's first female head of government, the late Mrs. Sri Ratnayaka Dayas Bandaranaike. And we also had our first female president, Ms. Chandrika Bandaranaike, as early as 1994. And quoting our great Swami Vivekananda, an enlightened woman is certainly a source of infinite energy. I'll give just a quick overview on the quick processes that lead to women's empowerment, which I will deal with a little later as we go on through the slides. Sema Undong, this is where we get our inspiration for our project. As everyone here very well knows, we are quite well versed with this subject. It's noted to be the best development model in the world for poverty eradication and rural development. And this is all credited by the late great Park Chung-hee, who strived for a better life by uplifting the rural sector through this novel, but I think a very utopian approach. And as everyone knows, the heart of Sema Undong lies with the three principles, core values of self-help, cooperation, and diligence. Self-help, if you want to make change in this world and make your life better, the first person, or the best person who can do that is yourself. So, and God definitely helps those who help themselves. And in this world, we're born alone, we die alone, but we cannot live alone, so we need each other. As such, we need to cooperate with one another. Two heads are better than one, or perhaps we can amend it as two good heads are better than one. And diligence is, the apt adage would be, the early bird catches the worm. Regardless of how you approach a certain project, there is sadly no shortcuts to hard work. So if you want to see results, you would have to put in your effort. And notably, and the Sema Undong, one of the main success factors are women's participation. And this women's participation has been acknowledged by the late President Park Chung-hee, who accredited and emphasized that women's participation and contribution of the women's action societies actually contributed a great deal towards the success of Sema Undong. And just a quick explanation on how the change actually works. If you can see the slide, there are 3 cogwheels. I can compare this to how a car engine works. The biggest cogwheel here is consciousness, which is in fact mindset. Once the mindset is put in motion into a positive light and one is focused and determined to make change, they will improve their living conditions. Once they do that, the automatic process would be income generation, which eventually leads to development from the lower tier of household to community to the development sector. And these are the basic tools that we utilize under women's participation in SMU. And our project is concerning development, women empowerment and livestock development. Our rationale for choosing livestock is because it's considered a very key asset for rural livelihoods. And it also offers a lot of advantages and is an entry point for promoting gender balance in rural areas. Our main aim of this project is to empower the women folk in this given region called Pahalaya Goda GS Division, which is located in the district of Gampa, Western Province of Sri Lanka. Our main outcome, to increase opportunity for women, to increase income utilizing livestock. Our target group has been identified as members of the Women's Action Society, which comes under the purview of the Women's Bureau of Sri Lanka. And we note that our current role of women are very insignificant, owing to many aspects such as social, cultural, and economic factors. An intention of this project is to identify and support the women's roles as livestock owners and uplift them. Our project will have the following benefits for women. We will boost them to have decision-making and empowerment, household welfare, self-esteem. We'll be boosting their self-esteem, and we'll be having them have the access to credit. The reason why we selected this location when we were doing our feasibility studies was this location has been noted to be very successful, as previous projects implemented in this area by the Ministry of Women and Child Affairs have actually had a good turnout. And there's also a very high social capital, and there are many civil society organizations currently in operation in this area. And this area is very conducive for rearing of livestock. And the main framework, since we don't have to start from scratch, is that these people are already aware about livestock. This is our area, the Pahalaya Goda region, very small population of 2,500 people, with the females outnumbering the males. Our pillars for women's empowerment livestock, I've already quickly touched on that briefly. And drawing comparison between South Korea and Sri Lanka, we've just set out just key aspects we think that are very similar and differences. The main reason we've drawn reference from this is we're both from the Asian continent, and I believe that these characteristics show that we're able to transfer and effectively utilize the Semaundong model in our country as well. So our main objective is basically to develop the rural community, elevate poverty, with specific focus on women's empowerment. Our project duration is for a period of 2 years with an estimated budget of 3.1 million rupees, which is equivalent to 21,000 USD. Just a quick overview on project procedure. We will start up with startup activities, proceed to implementation activities, and then exit at the point when the residents are confident enough to sustain themselves. And we've done a SWOT analysis during our feasibility studies, our strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. Our strengths, we already have legal framework in place, and a very crucial aspect, which we believe is one of the key strengths, is that we have the willingness of the female residents to participate, and we also have major support from the government and private sector. Our opportunities are, there's already policies in place, and there's a lot of opportunities in terms of livestock generation. And currently we have a glass of milk national program island-wide, which is endorsed by the government, which gives students around the island a glass of milk for the purpose of boosting their nutrition, and this is completely funded by the government. Our weaknesses are unfortunately maybe not enough institutions and a lack of modern technology, and our threats mainly is negative mentality, particularly in this aspect, the consumption of fresh milk. And sadly, this sector is also very male-dominated. Our project development stages are in 3 key areas: ignition, self-help, and self-reliance. Under stage 1 of ignition, the main aim here is to build capacity building and mind enlightenment. We are going to achieve this through the strategies such as strengthening of Women's Action Society, which is something that was also utilized under the Semaundong model, such as the reorganization of the Women's Society and formation of a farm development committee, which is very similar to the village community development in South Korea. And mindset change, we will start with campaigns and videos to boost the morale of people and show them if you want to make a change, you can do it yourselves. Enhancing cooperation and building social capital, promotion of group activities. These are a couple of strategies that we will be utilizing for our aim of capacity building and mind enlightenment. The second stage would be self-help. The strategies, what we aim under these is firstly to enhance the livelihood of women. The strategies we will employ here are carrying out of activities of livestock training and providing of livestock support. Training will be in groups, and we have the actors who would be involved are the Ministry of Women Affairs and Women and Child Affairs, the Ministry of Agriculture, who will assist us by providing resource persons who will actually conduct the training and give them hands-on experience of what to do from the very basics to the very end. And the livestock support, we're selecting 10 groups, and the funding is going to be on the proportion of 80 to 20%. 80% project contribution, which will be funded by sponsors or aid donors, and 20% from the community. This proportion we have set out because we want to instill a sense of ownership, and also, as Sema Undong promoted, we don't want to provide people with fish, but more like to teach them how to fish. We have more strategies such as the employing of a loan scheme, the exposure and promotion of general awareness, the developing of assets through cooperation of social capital. Semal monthly campaigns, I'm sure every one of us can attest to that, as every first of each month we have Semal cleaning, which I'm sure as much as we complain, we all turn up, and I'm sure we shall appreciate that later on. Time management and discipline, very important key aspects to this. We also have strategies concerning intensive mechanisms, improvement of microfinancial scheme, and promoting the saving habit, which was also something that was utilized under the Sema Undong. And very key strategy here is strengthening the role of women in livestock development committees. We want to boost their morale and to a point where they have leadership and they can take decisions. And I believe that this is a very key aspect that we want to achieve. And stage 3 would be the self-reliance stage. At this juncture, our female residents would be confident enough to take off on their own. We intend to intensify and spread this project so that other villages would be motivated by the success of our village, our area, and would be happy to give it a try. One of the main quick questions when we do projects is, can we sustain this project? And for us, we believe we can because of the actors who are involved, such as the Ministry of Women and Child Affairs, Ministry of Agriculture, and the Divisional Secretary of GAMPA, who basically functions as a project manager and has his officers assigned at grassroots level to monitor and evaluate the progress of how this project is going. And these are how we will be conducting objectives and the time frames. We are handling it on a quarterly basis. Monitoring and evaluation, developing of local assets, as I had explained previously under strategies. And as we conclude, our basic would be to empower women in this particular region with the final outcomes of women being empowered and being able to take decisions on their own, being able to contribute significantly and provide benefits to the household, be confident and have high self-esteem, and be in a position to have access to credit and take loans when and where necessary. I will quote Ms. Indrani Malwatta, who is the first female chairperson of the EDB in Sri Lanka, who believes that empowering women empowers the whole nation. And I know there's always this debate about gender, equality of gender between the men and the women. Some people have the view that men are superior while women are not, but our view is that women are not equal to men. Women are definitely much more the superior gender here. And if you want, I think our students, the married students here can attest to this, particularly the female ones. If you want to say something, you ask a man. But you want something to be done, you ask a woman. Yes? Okay. Okay. Hence, our action plan is definitely the needed action to address rural development and empower women in Sri Lanka. Thank you for your kind attention. Bomustuti, Nandri, thank you. Kamsahamnida.
Thank you for the presentation. Ms. Nithya
Yes.
talked about the women empowerment issue in Sri Lanka, especially about the project for income generation utilizing livestock. And in the presentation, they suggest kind of strategic program that has three stages: ignition stage, self-help stage, and also self-reliance stage. And finally, they expect to for the women in Sri Lanka to be empowered, to be self-sufficient and confident, to contribute toward the enhancement of their families and the communities and the country. So we will have a Q&A session for 5 minutes. So if you have any question, yes, there.
Thank you for your presentation. I just have a question. What about if the women that you are planning to do the project with don't like to raise up cows? And why are you targeting a group of women that have already received a lot of benefits? As you said, that they have demonstrated that they have already given a lot of results. So aren't you giving more benefits to the ones that have already received?
To answer your question on livestock, this area, like I said, the rural sector, their livelihood depends on livestock. And what was your second question? I'm sorry. Could you repeat it?
Why the target? Why are they?
Why are the target? Basically, the framework is already in place. We're just sealing the foundation. We're not starting this project from scratch. Our aim is actually to enhance their livelihoods. So how can we contribute? By giving them the technical know-how through the resource persons from the relevant ministries. And the the biggest challenge we have here is the mindset. There's such a negative mentality. And unfortunately, as everyone knows, people from warm countries are very lazy. Yes. I hope that answers your question satisfactorily. Okay.
Thank you. A second question, Gulnur.
Thank you for your presentation. I want to address one question. How will you introduce incentives in your project?
Incentives, right. Unlike under Semau Undang, we don't really have a reward system. And taking a note from Semau Undang, we want to utilize, not rewarding them monetarily, but through recognition. Human nature is such that all of us want to be acknowledged and recognized. So people will be motivated, we'll be boosting their morale, they would want to make a name for themselves. So we would be employing strategies such as getting them success stories of people who are able to achieve certain targets into media, and that kind of boosts them, and other people looking at that would take an example of it and say, okay, we also want to emulate the same.
Thank you.
There's one more question.
Good afternoon.
Good
Thank you for nice presentation, Sri Lanka team. I'm Aymira. In your presentation, you mentioned about a budget, $21,000. I want to ask, is it sufficient to support your project?
It's a small budget. The reason we've kept it that according to the actual costings is because this project is not fueled by money. It's fueled by what we want to introduce through the Semau spirit, these core values. We want to boost their self-help. We want to get them to help themselves. So we will just give them the tools, but not the money. Like I use the adage, we were not going to give them fish, we're going to teach them how to fish. And since we already have the basic framework already in existence, we have the basic framework in existence. We already have the legal structure, we have the policies, we have all these in place. So, and the resource persons coming in to assist on the technical know-how are not going to be paid anything because this is their job according as the fact that they are attached to these ministries, and we believe that people will be motivated to push themselves to continue this. We're just giving them a helping hand, as a parent would a child, up until the child is ready to leave home, or where parents generally these days have to kick their children out of home because they're too lazy to get on their own feet. That is essentially what we're doing. We're playing a mother role. Once the kids are ready enough to let go, we will let go and get them to fly on their own. I hope that answers you. Yes.
Any further question? Okay, last one.
Thank you for the presentation. Back on SWOT analysis, you noted that for the funding section, you have not indicated on SWOT analysis because I see that the source of funding, you are not sure how you raise the revenue because you are saying that those women will have to fund some section and then you are requesting maybe donors to give you money. Don't you think that that one should also be included in your weaknesses under SWOT analysis? Then on the action plan, don't you think that inputs are also needed to be considered on the action plan? Thank you.
Answering your first question on the funding is on the proportion of 80 to 20%. The main funding will be coming from sponsors, and the way the protocol works in our country, sponsors, aid agencies would contribute or donate money, which comes to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and thereafter is distributed to the relevant ministries, who allocate a certain portion for their projects. The reason we're not giving them full funding, like I explained, is we're just giving them a helping hand. So 80% we feel is sufficient. The 20% they will be raising themselves. How? Through fundraising activities and events. A lot of benefits arise from such activities besides creating cohesion between the women and working together for a common purpose and a common goal. And I believe that they will be able to raise sufficient funds to meet that 20%. And I do not consider it a weakness. I actually consider it as one of the strengths. Like I said, we are trying to boost their morale to help themselves. We're not trying to spoon feed them or give them an easy way out. And regarding the action plan on the inputs, can you specify what exactly that you're referring to?
Because under the action plan, you have the activities.
Yes.
And those activities, to achieve those activities, you need specific inputs. How will you achieve those activities? What inputs will you use?
Okay.
Yeah.
For example, I've stressed with 3 stages, like I explained: ignition, self-help, self-reliant. I would take an example of our first stage of the ignition stage. We are going to introduce, let me just get there. Okay, for example, this one, the self-help stage. One of the main aims under this stage would be the enhancement of livelihood of women. We've broken down what exactly we want, which is to carry out activities on livestock training. How are we going to achieve this? We're going to do training of women in groups on livestock and related production, programs on organic fertilizer, field visits. How are we going to get the people? Like I said, the actors that are involved in this project are also going to include the ministries in this particular respect. It would be the Ministry of Agriculture. So they have resource persons, which are basically they're experts in these areas, livestock rearing and management. And as I explained during my presentation, there is no fee as such that is going to be paid to them. This is part of their work under the ministry. So they will be on board with us. The main project coordinator would be the divisional secretariat, who would be coordinating with the very many resource persons to ensure that these activities and what we aim to achieve from these activities to better their understanding so that they're able to understand the practical aspects of livestock raising. This is just an example that I'm setting. I hope it answers your question. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Why don't you give her a big round of applause?